Ara clutched at her side, wincing as the pain returned with each labored breath. She glanced at the display screens through blurred vision. For torturous hours had passed since their FTL jump. Almost there, she muttered under her breath, willing herself to stay conscious. "Hold on, Cade," she heard Reese shout over the deafening hum of the wormhole drive. "We're going to make it." Suddenly, the ship groaned, jerking as it decelerated back into real space. Ara was thrown into her restraining harness, the impact sending a sharp pain through her cracked rib. She let out a yelp, gritting her teeth to stay focused. "Hopper, get a line open to the Council," she barked, her voice strained. "And get us to a med station now." "Yes, Commander," Harper replied, hands flying over the controls. "Nearest facility is the Orion Medical Outpost. ETA 12 minutes. Connecting to the Council now." Thank the stars for FTL, Ara thought, though she knew it might have been the very thing that got them into this mess. FTL travel was one thing, but FTL communication was a whole different challenge, one they'd mastered with time. Detecting micro-wormholes caused by dark energy fluctuations allowed them to send data instantaneously, the signal emerging from the wormhole at its destination almost in real time. The delay was negligible, just enough to remind them they were still bound by the limits of the universe. The static crackled through the bridge's comms, resolving into the stern faces of the Council members gathered in a grand chamber. At the center of the screen was Vice-Chancellor Lucas Drayton, a longtime ally of Ara's. "What's your status, Ilara?" Lucas asked, his voice steady, but the concern was evident in his eyes. That concern turned to shock as he took in the state of her and her crew, blooded, bruised, and visibly shaken. They looked like they'd been through hell, and they had. "What happened?" Lucas demanded, his composure slipping as he noticed the blood trickling from Ara's nose. His mechanical eye flashed an ominous red, a sign of his rising anger. "Not good," Ara rasped, coughing up blood. "We were ambushed by alien forces just as we entered the system. They tried to obliterate us and they are likely not far behind. We're en route to the Orion Medical Outpost now. We need backup." "I'll dispatch the Titan fleet to assist," Lucas said. "What caused this?" His voice was tight with barely restrained fury. He couldn't believe the audacity of these aliens. "They fear us," Ara managed, exhaustion weighing on her. "They were preparing to strike Earth before we could reach them. I'm sending all the data we gathered now." Lucas nodded as the data transfer began. "Got it. We also detected a security breach. What did they manage to steal?" Harper turned from the console, his expression grim. "Locations of all human colonies, advanced weapon schematics, cultural data, everything they need to strike anywhere." The council chamber erupted into chaos, cacophony of voices and alarms. Lucas didn't even attempt to restore order, muttering under his breath as the council descended into panic. "Prepare all defense stations across the coalition," Ara interrupted, her voice cutting through the noise. "Inform the public on every colony. As of this moment, emergency measures are in effect." She paused to let her words sink in before continuing. "Effective immediately, all restrictions on personal spaceborne weaponry are lifted. Civilians can now purchase and deploy any weapons short of those classified as weapons of mass destruction." The council's uproar grew louder, but it was mixed with determined resolve. By the time Ara's ship reached the medical outpost, the news had spread across the colonies. The military had been mobilized, and civilians were preparing for the worst. "Stay safe, ILA. We'll need you back in action soon," Lucas said, his voice softening as the comms began to shut down. "Thanks," Ara replied, her body sagging with relief as they docked. "Make sure everyone's ready. We're going to need all the help we can get." Meanwhile, on Zion 5, High Counselor Zira paced nervously in her chamber. The past few hours had been nothing short of disastrous. First, the humans had survived what should have been a fatal ambush. Second, her own people, pacifists by nature, had no will to fight, especially against an enemy as fearsome as the humans, who, rumor had it, devoured planets by the ton. Soldiers were balking at the idea of fighting an enemy that towered over them and saw their own flora as nothing more than food. Zira had minutes to quell their fears and rally them to action, relying on a mix of fear, deception, and a few hard truths. Her limbs trembled with anxiety, but she forced herself to focus. "Showtime, High Counselor. They are ready for you," an aide informed her, their names slipping her mind in the haze of stress. Steeling herself, Zira strode onto the stage, her four limbs propelling her forward with more confidence than she felt. She stretched her upper arms towards the microphone, her many eyes scanning the gathered crowd. "Citizens of the Galactic Alliance," Zira began, her voice amplified across the vast hall. "Today we face a threat unlike any other. I know many of you are afraid of war, afraid of what this might mean for our peaceful society. But hear me now, this is a war we cannot avoid." The crowd murmured, shock and fear evident on their faces. Zira pressed on, using their fear to her advantage. "Today we were attacked. A single human ship crippled our defenses and sent a message back to their homeworld, a world where millions have perished at the hands of their own kind." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. The gasps of horror were audible, and Zira knew she had their attention. "If this is what they do to themselves, imagine what they would do to us, to your families." She continued, "These creatures consume biological matter. They devour life. Imagine a future where our worlds are harvested, our people slaughtered. Is that the future you want?" The silence in the hall was deafening, the tension palpable. "But do not despair," Zira said, her voice rising with determination. "Our fleets are strong, our technology superior. We must set aside our fears and embrace our duty. Together, we can stand against this menace and protect our way of life." The crowd erupted into cheers, their fear transformed into resolve. Zira allowed herself a small smile. The humans would have their war, and she would have her soldiers back on Earth. The state of human politics was, to put it mildly, chaotic. The discovery of what the public had dubbed space letters was causing a media frenzy, but it paled in comparison to the uproar over the new military laws. For the past hour, the news had been dominated not by the looming alien threat, but by debates over the legalization of military-grade weapons for civilian use. The topic had been contentious for years, with arguments on both sides, but with the new threat, the scales had tipped. For Ara, the decision was a no-brainer. She had barely survived an alien ambush and had seen firsthand the kind of firepower they were up against. The colonies needed every advantage they could get. Yet accusations flew across the networks, some claiming that Ara had been bribed by the powerful Martian manufacturing conglomerates. The internet was ablaze with speculation, and Ara, groggy from painkillers, could only watch the chaos unfold from her hospital bed. The doctors had done their best with her injuries, but the drugs left her foggy and unable to focus. "Need anything?" Reese asked, his voice cutting through her thoughts. "I know this isn't exactly a vacation." "Another water, please," Ara replied, grateful for the distraction. As Reese walked away, she tried to clear her mind, but her thoughts were interrupted by a shrill beep. It was Lucas calling with an update. His face on the screen was tense, his usual calm replaced by urgency. "Alien ships have been detected in 5 systems: Orion, Frontier, Vega, Alpha Centaur, and Kepler. Each has over 40 contacts. We need to act now." Ara's heart raced. "Call an emergency session of the Council," she ordered. "Doctor, purge these meds from my system. I need to be clear-headed." "Yes, Commander," Reese replied, already calling for the doctor. "Show me what we're dealing with," Ara demanded, turning her attention back to Lucas. The time for preparation was over, the aliens had made their move. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, the command center of the Coalition's military forces was a hive of activity. Buried within miles of reinforced material, it was a fortress designed to withstand anything short of total planetary annihilation. Here, the Admiralty could oversee battles across the galaxy and issue orders in real time. "Admiral Hawk," a technician called out, "tactical map is online. Data accurate as of 1.5 seconds ago." A massive holographic display flickered to life in the center of the room, showing the positions of friendly and hostile ships across 5-star systems. The tension was thick as the Admiral studied the map. The room was silent, everyone awaiting Hawk's orders. The battle lines were drawn, and it was time to decide humanity's fate. After a few seconds that felt like an eternity, Hawk spoke. Deploy the fleets to the Alpha Center and Kepler systems. We can't afford to let them get closer. Authorize full spectrum response. This is an extinction-level threat. In the depths of space, the alien ships glided through the blackness, their sleek forms cutting through the void like sharks through water. They moved with purpose, their mission clear: obliterate the human threat before it could destroy them. But they weren't the only ones on the move. The combined might of the Coalition's fleets was mobilizing, and in a few hours, they would meet the aliens head-on in a battle that would determine the future of both species. As the ships closed in on their targets, the tension in the galaxy was electric. The stakes couldn't be higher, only one side would emerge victorious, and the loser would be annihilated. In this war, there could be no surrender, no compromise. There was only victory or death. The story ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the reader eager to see the outcome of the impending galactic battle.